The psychotic spliff, a metaphorical dagger setting the record straight. 7 Crow speaks. As Don Juan said to Carlos, warriors are incapable of feeling compassion, because they no longer feel sorry for themselves. Without the driving force of self-pity, compassion is meaningless. Are you saying, Don Juan, that a warrior is all for himself? In a way, yes. For a warrior everything begins and ends with himself. However, his contact with the abstract causes him to overcome his feeling of self-importance. Then the self becomes abstract and impersonal. Sorcerers say that the fourth abstract core happens when the spirit cuts our chains of self-reflection, he said. Cutting our chains is marvelous, but also very undesirable, for nobody wants to be free. See. Being offended is succumbing to another, falling for the trap set by man doesn't affect those snared by spirit, we would never fall for it. Plain and simple. Point. We see through the bullshit to say, period. -7 Crow. Need more read on. When the sorcerer tilts their brim, destroying the ego of another, shifting attention and delivering the blow of a magical new wall, a knock of the spirit pounds at their door. Point. Ripping a tear in the mental fabric, lifting the veil and tearing it down, a cracking between the worlds, for now all truth of the matters are revealed. The warrior overcomes the selfishness on the path to selfless awareness, the most selfish of all, or a sorcerer's ruthlessness. A magical no longer succumbs to the mundane, the projections of another's perception is meaningless. The warrior's feelings are never hurt. Our feelings are no longer emotional responses, or the overacting of an average person's reactions do not apply. The Toltec magical is impervious to the inner talk. Having overcome the internal dialogue, we no longer repeat the same things as others do to maintain the world. The created aspect we classify by categorization is of another inventory, as in we energetically command ourselves impeccably and in direct accordance to our position, for no other's curses affect our well-being and in no way construct our world. Point. We are impeccable. The fallible peccabilities abound fall into 3 categories: small fries, little fish, and head honchus. All petty tyrants, biogenic los que no son gente, those who are not real people, but living beings. Point. Average people listen to themselves too much, for the monster inside one. Shut up. The Archon feeds on petty and regurgitated verbal diarrhea, inflicting worse and dropping the load on others. An exponential downfall into the tonal or physical world aspect, the classified personal exception enforced upon others. The agreements of the circle. 1. Frequenz. The interruption that usually starts the confrontation or disagreement is usually a result of arguing in conversation or belief. People's mouths love to verbalize what area of the brain you're stimulating, then you may have to remark on that comment. Usually that, right there, steers the direction off the original point of the conversation, leaving the topic open to reason for discussion. Abandoning the point no longer assembled. Point. Chaos ensues. The mind's ammunition fires rapid, the mouth follows. The battle begins, as a war of intellect, as if either party is correct. Sorcerers know. Point. Knowing is a burden and everyone is wrong. We are aware of that, as antiquitious quantum shamans. This is our cosmology. A logical cosmos. Our personal beliefs are good for one thing, one person. Making a recording on paper only makes for dirty toilet paper. Point. Expressing one's foolishness, as a must-be accepted clarity. Your point of views come from the inner talk which will defecate its verbal diary on another. When people accept a gift of knowledge, the world changes. Point. If people could control the chatter in their mouth, they might be able to stop the chatter in their head, and vice versa. In a repetitious and ending cells we get sucked into, until man does this and succeeds in clearing the table of everyday acts and habitual repetition. Once an asshole, always an asshole becomes true. In the case for double speaking, one must be matched accordingly. For unbalanced, someone's bound to fall and the sorcerer flies. For those on a similar path or on the same wavelength, coherently responding and cooperatively contributing, the abstract dual conveyor of communication can fill 2 warriors in conference full of power. I highly suggest it a dueling dialect, the sorcerer's sparring session of speech. Impeccability beckons the warrior to replicate an infallible self. The harshness of others can't compare to the ruthlessness a warrior inflicts upon oneself, overcoming the illusion to clear way for the truly abstract reality. One's made-up mind is moldable. The sorcerers don't blame others for their default. It is only temporary, for they have met the magical Playing the Fool, a position of the average man or first card in the tarot, is every man and woman's position in their challenge of awakening. The Magical challenges others to awake by simply being aware. Point third, for the meaningless torture one inflicts on themselves and passes to the next available victim bypasses the awake. The compulsion of tyrants is true vampirism. For the arcanego is the real nus verituazazel. Point, people are possessed by innumerable amounts of spirits known as the maninkari, our DNA. The themes of Set are angels and demons within the body. Our hormones and peptides are the themes, soldiers of Osier. Heru's allies, the Magical works with and barters with the spirits, possessing them and not the other way around. Point, others are possessed by the spirits, the monster's marionette. People are the puppets acting, as the master chooses. The false expressions people project are the flyers within the being controlling the masses' belief, for all resides within, the wasaraxesis. Point, we see through the bullshit to say, period. Being offended is succumbing to another, falling for the trap set by man doesn't affect those snared by spirit. We would never fall for it, plain and simple. Abstracts of the sorcerer, de-ritualization, not doing. I suggest speaking through the pillars of heaven technique as an exercise, where both parties back to back depend on feeling instead of visual perception. Point, a true abstract technique would be starting a conversation, then putting in earplugs and record each other's voice for later matching the coherence and steady flow of topical energy. Copyright material of E-Theory by D.B. Published, do not copy without permission. Copyright 7 Crow of the White Wolf, trademark autobiography of a sorcerer, 13 books of 7 Crow. All my works published online and are original. Any correlative references will be acknowledged in the full versions. 8 Enigma Theory, copyright FB Intergenetic Warrior, trademark 8 copyright. More Carlos Castaneda Counts. What a strange feeling, to realize that everything we think, everything we say depends on the position of the assemblage point, he remarked. And that was exactly what I had been thinking and laughing about. I know that at this moment your assemblage point has shifted, he went on, and you have understood the secret of our chains. They imprison us, but by keeping us pinned down on our comfortable spot of self-reflection, they defend us from the onslaughts of the unknown. I was having one of those extraordinary moments in which everything about the sorcerer's world was crystal clear. I understood everything. Once our chains are cut, Don Juan continued, we are no longer bound by the concerns of the daily world. We are still in the daily world, but we don't belong there anymore. In order to belong we must share the concerns of people, and without chains we can't. Don Juan said that the Magical Elias had explained to him that what distinguishes normal people is that we share a metaphorical dagger, the concerns of our self-reflection. With this dagger, we cut ourselves and bleed, and the job of our chains of self-reflection is to give us the feeling that we are bleeding together, that we are sharing something wonderful, our humanity. But if we were to examine it, we would discover that we are bleeding alone, that we are not sharing anything, that all we are doing is toying with our manageable, unreal, man-made reflection. Sorcerers are no longer in the world of daily affairs, Don Juan went on, because they are no longer prey to their self-reflection. Don Juan, C. Castaneda.